5 years ago, and 4 years ago, and 3 years ago, who logs out of Facebook? Who logs out of the actual product? And the answer was always, no one logs out because it's too much effort to log back in. So we are perpetually opting in every bit of ourselves into these platforms. The NFT opportunity, the data opportunity, the privacy opportunity, all this technology empowers us to say we don't necessarily have to give you all of our information in order to go. So that's just something to think about when we talk about what it is when you are right-clicking JPEGs. Next, I'm going to introduce Sarah Grace-Worboys to the stage. Sarah, I'll get you up here. She's going to be chatting to, again, one of the most extraordinary businesses in the space, Mik from Dapper Labs. If you pay attention to the space, you'll see these businesses creating relationships at pace. They're building businesses that would normally take 5 years in 5 months. And I'm really looking forward to hearing Sarah have a chat to Mik. So welcome Sarah to the stage, please.
Thanks, Steve. I'm so happy to be here. I get to ask a few questions, which is always fun. In this session, we're going to deep dive into one of the OG companies leading the Web3 charge, so that's Dapper Labs, and their very rapidly growing extended ecosystem. So it is my great honour, and hopefully, is he online? I'm not sure if we've got Mik here yet. I'll give a quick introduction. Greg, do we have Mik? I think so. Yeah. All right. To introduce you to Mik Naayem, he's a co-founder of Dapper Labs. He's about as well known as anyone else in this space. Mik has a background in computer science. He successfully founded and sold a live ops platform for game developers called Fuel Powered to Animoca Brands. I believe he's still involved there in a board capacity. Since 2018, Mik is co-founder of Dapper Labs and the Flow blockchain, and he's an overall Web3 pioneer. So Mik, it is such a thrill to meet you. Oh, brilliant, you're here. Thanks so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Amazing. I wanted to do a quick, given that you're the ones bringing the Web3 to the normies, I wanted to do a quick icebreaker. So people unfamiliar with Web3 probably see you guys and think like Matrix, Neo, code everywhere. So I wanted to ask, what's something relatable about you, something that brings you joy that is not Web3?
Well, I love kitesurfing. One of my favorite things to do is when I'm in a new city, just start walking, or pick a direction and start walking and see what happens. And I'm a big fan of RuPaul's Drag Race.
There you go, amazing, thank you. Well, I think we can all relate to the first point. Okay, so we have, given we've got pretty varied exposure to Web3 here, I wanted to spend maybe a little bit of time on the Dapper Labs origin story initially. Can you please give us a bit of an overview of Dapper Labs, the seemingly unstoppable growth by partnerships that you guys have created? It's a snowball now in the sports world. And I guess the decision to build Flow and bringing us to today, activating the next wave of social capital.
Yeah, well, it started in 2017 when our parent company, Axiom Zen, we were just looking at blockchain and asking ourselves the question, well, if we believe in a decentralized future, what does it need to look like? What bridges need to exist? And one of them that became apparent for us was that blockchains couldn't just be about money. In the real world, money only exists for us to be able to get things. And in blockchain, there was no way for us to have things. Things didn't exist. And so that's kind of what got us into wanting to create NFTs. And so our CTO started drafting the ERC 721 standard. And then we wanted to have a really good use case for it. And so our chief creative officer came up with this idea of creating collectible digital cats that you could breed together and make new cats with. And that's how we ended up with CryptoKitties. The idea there was really around, would people care about truly owning a digital asset for the first time? And would that get people to use blockchain for the first time and enjoy it and value it, rather than having to start with banking and finance, all these things that can be scary. It was quite successful. I think it was the first app that kind of really reached mainstream audiences, although it was a small mainstream audience, about 100,000 people. But it also crashed the Ethereum network. And so that's kind of what led us to the decision to build Flow. But really what was exciting for us was that 2/3 of our audience had never owned a cryptocurrency before. So they really kind of understood that they really liked the cats, and then they understood that, hey, I actually own this. This is fun. I can trade it with my friends. And that's kind of what gave us conviction to build Dapper Labs. And really Dapper Labs, our mission is to introduce millions of people to the benefits of blockchain technology and Web3.
Amazing, thank you. So I guess you guys really did do the equivalent of breaking the internet when it came to CryptoKitties and Ethereum. So congratulations, I think. Yeah. According to a report by Deloitte, between 4 and 5 million sports fans globally will have purchased or have been gifted an NFT by the end of this year. What percentage of those are likely to have come from Dapper Labs or the Flow blockchain?
Well, the issue is kind of making these predictions when you're on new technologies that you're probably off by order of magnitude. So like 4 million to 5 million I feel like we would have not done our job properly. Today we've got about, just with our products, we've got about 1.5 million users who own an NFT. I think we make 80 to 90% of the market. Hopefully, I hope that it'll be like an order of magnitude bigger. So we'll be at 40 or 50 million people who will have an NFT by the end of the year. And it'd be nice if we were a smaller portion of it than we are today, hopefully like around 50% or something along those lines.
Yeah, they're still not small numbers. So you guys can be pretty proud of what you've accomplished. It really is a snowball. I wanted to touch on everybody's favourite topic, even though it's technically not regulation day today. You guys are the first NFT company to register to lobby the US government, which I found pretty interesting. So I'd love it if you'd be able to quickly touch on maybe the biggest challenges that you guys are facing as an industry, or we are facing as an industry, and how you're approaching your advocacy.
Yeah, I mean, what we've noticed is kind of once you start pioneering in a new space, it's really important to get folks to understand what you're doing and get comfortable with it. There's a lot of misconceptions in our industry about what NFTs are, what they can be, what value they can have. And so we wanted to take it be just proactive in our ability to have these conversations with lawmakers. Our view is that NFTs are like any, the NFTs that are collectibles should be treated the same way as art, et cetera. NFTs can obviously have many different use cases, but I think it's best to have these conversations early on, way before the time that people think about regulating them, so that they can be familiar with them, understand them, don't see them as kind of weird, scary things. And so I think it's really, really important. And we hope that we won't be the only ones who are having these conversations with the US governments or other global governments. I think it's just anybody in our industry should kind of be proactive in having these conversations.
Absolutely. I think you're speaking probably to the converted here in this room. And actually, I should compliment you on your background. I was trying to figure out where you were. I've got a clearer screen down below me, but I'm really enjoying the Dapper Labs cartoons. So moving on though, I bought an AO art ball during the Australian Open. Just to participate. I wanted to have a forever souvenir from the Genesis drop. I like tennis, so that was fun, but I'm a little bit more excited about what's to come. So, and maybe before I'll pause there and acknowledge that it was very simple in comparison to buy a starter kit on Dapper Labs compared to trying to buy an NFT, or mint an NFT anywhere. So already hats off to you for being more normie friendly. But beyond that, what kind of utility do you think digital collectibles in the world of sports will have 1 year from now? So I'd love to hear about maybe emerging trends in this space and whether you see it starting to cross into other sectors.
Yeah, I mean, On the digital collectible side, I think, well, what we've been exploring a lot with is having digital collectibles be a part of a kind of like proof of fandom, and seeing and exploring whether people will resonate with that, and being able to create kind of IRL, in real life, unique money you can't buy experiences. So kind of this idea that, hey, if you collect all of the Lakers NFTs, you might be a really, really big Lakers fan, and so the Lakers should kind of show you a lot of love and treat you special when you go to the stadium, or give you access to LeBron James, etc. So those are the types of things that we're really excited about right now. I think the power of NFTs goes beyond collectibles, and I think that's really interesting for the sports world. I think that ticketing as NFTs is going to make a lot of sense beyond just commemorative tickets, but just ticketing in general for sports events. I think will stop a lot of fraud, et cetera, and be much more efficient. One of the things I'm kind of excited about is DAOs in general, so some less NFT related, but I think we're starting to see a couple of DAOs form trying to buy sports teams, and I find that really interesting. If fans can kind of pull together and start to own a part of the team that they love, and maybe start making decisions around that collectively, I think could be really, really cool.
Yeah, I think DAOs is a really interesting, that's a whole another side topic. I better not go down that rabbit hole, or we might be here for longer than the 25 minutes, and I'll have Steve at the side of the stage glaring at me. So, but yeah, certainly DAOs buying a sports team, it's pretty exciting. It's certainly a level of fandom that I don't think anyone's been able to look down the pipeline and see before. So I guess for those, there's probably a few people here and those watching thinking, okay, well, this is all really interesting, but what do we do with this information if we want to launch our own digital collectibles for our team or for our company? Why would someone choose to build on Flow instead of Ethereum, or leveraging another platform? What are the pros and cons? And and do they have to be in sports? I suppose is that your niche, or would you say anyone can build on Flow now? It's really starting to evolve into a space that is agnostic.
It's definitely agnostic. Flow is really designed to be a platform that is for just that can be efficient for consumer scale Web3 apps. I think what I could do is compare Ethereum to Flow, rather than all the other blockchains, because there's a lot of them. But with Ethereum, it was really designed initially to be a place for money to go back and forth, and for people to be able to write contracts like escrow contracts, etc. But it was really designed for money, and what makes it what are its current drawbacks is that it's expensive. It's hard for regular people to use, and it's not really safe for regular people to use. It's easy for people to have all their things and money stolen. It's also easy for people to lose all their things. I lost my secret seed on my first MetaMask account, and I lost all my first CryptoKitties, and that makes me really, really, really sad.
Oh, no.
What it's good for, though, is if you're trying to build a project whereby you want to target double-digit thousand really, really rich crypto people, it's a great place to do a project like that, because it has the richest people there, and they're excited to spend money on things like that. Where Flow is really designed to be an application-first platform, so and really looking at consumer scale. So we designed it to be cheap. We designed it to be easy to develop apps for. Most importantly, we designed it to be safe for consumers to use it, and safe and easy for consumers to use it. They can use credit cards, they can have password recovery, etc. So really, if you're building an app that's trying to target more of a kind of mainstream consumer, that's trying to target hundreds of thousands of people, Flow is going to be a better home for you than Ethereum.
Yeah, certainly the lack of gas fees was a pleasant surprise. So I guess it would be then remiss of me not to ask, given there are, I believe, a number of different projects that are starting to build off Flow, if there are any female or non-binary creator or tech voices building some of these projects that you want to amplify, so who maybe we could be engaging with and why. Just a couple of names and projects if you've got a few.
Yeah, absolutely. One of them that I really love is The Fabricant. They make fashion NFTs. There are two female co-founders. They built the first fashion NFT with us in collaboration with us on ETH back in the days in 2018. So they're the first ones to do that, and now they're building on Flow. Really, really incredible stuff. We've got Round 21 that's focused on brand partnerships and doing a combination of IRL and metaverse. They have a female founder. They're the first NFT brand to appear on Shark Tank, so they're getting some good exposure. Hopefully, I can give them a bit more. One of the projects that I'm most excited about is Genies, and their head of product is a woman called Camila Brosa. They are what they do is allow you to create your digital avatar, and then build it up with cool fashion items. They do that for regular people like you and I, but they also work, they create the digital avatars of most of the celebrities these days. So that's quite cool. And then one of the companies that we acquired are the folks at Brud. They're the ones who created Friends with Benefits, a art collective dab, but they're also the ones who created Little Michaela back in the days. And this was co-founded by a bunch of LGBTQ plus great females like Sarah DeCou. So a lot of fun folks in our ecosystem.
Amazing. Well, it sounds like it's certainly starting to move with or without you, which is always a good sign. You're not having to be the one pushing it up the hill. Yeah. And actually, I think I saw something about Bob Iger joining the board of Genies, which is certainly a very strong lead indicator of mainstream adoption. So you must be excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that team is just fantastic. They're doing such a great job, and yeah, Bob's a great addition to their advisory team. I think he's going to learn a lot from working with them as well.
Yeah, no, he's a visionary in his own right, so it's very exciting when you see somebody like that putting their weight behind a project in such an emerging space. And certainly I'd love to explore digital avatars that are, perhaps more affordable than trying to buy a World of Women right now, because they've certainly exceeded my play money price point. So I guess, so if we were to fast forward a year, what does success look like for Dapper Labs and Flow globally, and how does this creator economy that we've touched on today and the sort of future of social capital play a role in that success?
I think it's, so I think for just kind of our whole industry, the potential for culture to emerge in a way that's meaningful and much more diverse than we already had is kind of the promise there, because it allows creators to directly touch their consumers, and for users to kind of be or communities to kind of decide which creators emerge. And I think that's really, really powerful, rather than having tastemakers the way we currently have. For Flow, really, the hope for Flow is that a year from now, it truly becomes the home for entertainment Web3 apps, and hopefully that it's touching the lives of hundreds of millions of users. And I think the majority of that is going to be really done with or without us, and that's kind of the hope. With Dapper Labs, I think we're really scratching the surface. We just found a bit of product market fit with audiovisual sports collectibles, and I think we're just really scratching the surface of what they can be. My hope for us is really that a year from now, we're able to bring these NFT experiences into the hands of hundreds of millions of people in a way that whereby most of them are interacting with them not for profit, but really because they love them, because they want to collect them, because they're a part of their identity, because it's a way that they interact with their friends and their community. So that's really the hope.
Amazing. Well, it certainly seems like it's moving in that direction. So I've no doubt that in a year's time, perhaps if we're talking here, we can revisit. In terms of, I think we've got a little bit of time left, and I did preemptively go to my virtual audience before we started here, just to grab a couple of extra questions. There was one question that came from a VC or female investor in this space, actually. She's quite curious about your views on where you think, and you may not have specific and sort of act-specific comments on this, but where you think NFTs and securities law will go and how that will play out in global and unregulated markets.
So an NFT is just a way for you to represent a unique object on the blockchain. And so that can have many forms. And so I can start with kind of like whether a collectible will end up being a security or not. I really don't think it will be, because then, like, if it does, then it has a lot of real world implications. All of a sudden, art becomes securities. Collectible cars do. Your card collection does. And so I don't think securities law will kind of go in and on at least on the use case of digital collectibles, will go and claim that those are securities, just because there's the really good kind of real world like application where like it's been hundreds and hundreds of years that we've decided that collectibles are not securities and art is not a security. I think things get a little murky when they start to represent other things. Right? So if an NFT were to start to represent were to give you digital rights to royalties and start creating a royalty stream for you, I think the certain governments, and mainly kind of, I'm thinking of the US, would start to look at that as a security. NFTs could start to represent real estate assets, and that could be, and if it's starting to represent portions of a real estate asset, that could start to be seen as a security. So it's kind of, I think it's going to be really well, I hope that it will be really use case dependent, and that the governments will really kind of look at them individually rather than grouping all NFTs into one bucket, which would likely lead to really bad outcomes for the industry.
Yeah, it certainly sounds. I imagine that and certainly in this country anyway, there's some very specific and targeted and interesting conversations in this, and I think that we'll probably dig into it a little more tomorrow, but it's good to hear from those of you building in the space. So I guess we're sort of getting toward the end of our time together, so if you have any closing remarks, you're welcome to jump in, but otherwise, also I was wondering, for those watching online and for here in the room today, how if they've heard from you and they're now quite keen to get involved, be that launch a digital collectible or start to build on Flow, what would you recommend that they do first?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our community is really, really vibrant. So I think that the first place to go if you want to, if you're an engineer or if you're a builder, is to go to the Flow Discord, and you'll find a vibrant community of developers who will be able to help you through that journey. If you go to onflow.org, you can go to our playground and learn how to code in Cadence. It's super easy. It's fun. If you're a creator starting off at Flowverse, you'll be able to kind of see all the different apps that build that exist on Flow that can help you create your NFTs. Rareable is a great place to go and create your first NFT. Verse is a wonderful marketplace to kind of bring your NFTs to and trade them. So that's kind of where I would get started.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, this has been fantastic. Really appreciate you spending a little bit of time on, is it your Wednesday or is it your Tuesday? I don't know where you are.
It's Tuesday for us.
It's Tuesday.
We're on,
Well, thanks for joining us in the future. And yeah, thanks everybody else for listening. Really appreciate your time.